Before I get started with this review, here's a spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, because a lot of things are going to be spoiled in this review. So yeah, spoiler alert, you have been warned. Hi there, you guys, this is Jaden right here. And okay, so if you haven't seen the video I did yesterday, I reviewed the first two movies in Rabbit Lovers' new Toon Story movies that he was able to bring back this month. And yeah, later that night after I did the review, I was doing a bunch of research into Toon Story 3 because Rabbit Lover wants this review to, like I said, be an hour long with review. I'll see if I can make that work. And he also wants me to go over every single unique idea that he did in this Toon Story 3 movie of his. Because yeah, there's so many unique ideas he did in this Toon Story 3 movie. Like so many. It like feels more, there's so many unique ideas in this spoof film that to the point where it feels more like its own standalone crossover film rather than a Toy Story spoof film. You know what I mean? And it's also a horror film too, unlike the original Toy Story 3 movie. So I'd also like to call this horror story. Like we can also call this the horror story review. But yeah, there's so many unique ideas. I stayed up late last night, like 2 or 3 hours last night, with like my Dragon Ball Z box set on from the Xbox in the background, and out there in the kitchen at the table, writing down the unique ideas I have to go over. And this took up like over 4.5 papers. Yeah, and I wrote pretty small too. And just so you know, my family has complained to me about writing pretty big growing up. I've gotten better with writing smaller, but I can still write pretty big at times. But look at this. This is like over 4.5 papers long. Oh yeah, and a piece of it got ripped out, but I can make that work. I also put numbers on these papers so I don't get mixed up. So this is the first paper I'm supposed to read, so I put 1 on there. And of course, the other papers I put 2, 3, and 4, like expected. And yeah, I'm supposed to go over all these unique ideas. And oh my god, yeah, I basically practically like wrote a book about the unique ideas last. Oh my god, like seriously, there's so many unique ideas in this project to the point where I can imagine it'd be a fair argument for someone to say, oh, if he's gonna make the film this differently, then maybe he should spoof an actual horror film then, or make his own standalone crossover horror film instead of spoofing Toy Story 3. But yeah, but he made it like this, which yeah, I don't think it's a very necessary idea at all to make your Toy Story 3 spoof film into a horror film. But still, I like the idea. I like what he was going for. And I'll go over the unique ideas later in this review. But first, I'm going to go over casting choices as usual. Okay, so let's get started. Casting choices for the new characters we get introduced to in Toy Story 3. First up, the casting choice for the elephant in the room, Lotso Hugging Bear, who is played by Burt Rim from Family Guy. You know that evil baby, who's like Stewie's rival or whatever. And fun fact, he's voiced by Wallace Shawn, who is the voice actor for Rex in Toy Story. Yeah, that's a cool fun fact. And there's also Dookie from Johnny Test as Ken. That's a good casting choice right there. I probably prefer him how he has him as Shrek. And he's also talked about like having Dookie be Woody, which I'm sure he would want to use if he were to spoof Toy Story again, which I'm sure he doesn't plan to. But yeah, him as Ken though, it isn't bad. It isn't bad. I think that's good, but like not as good as Burt Rim as Lotso Hugging Bear. I think that's a really good Family Guy casting choice right there. But next up, the casting choice for Barbie, and that is Trixie from My Little Pony. Friendship is Magic as Barbie. Moving on. Lotso's gang, like a bunch of these snake characters who I accidentally called as worms when I was writing the unique ideas for this review. My bad. Maybe I'll correct myself when I read that unique idea script I call it. Okay, but yeah, let's continue on. The Chow Telephone is voiced like Christopher Lemo from South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. Yeah, that seems pretty fitting. I haven't seen the movie in a while, but like I said, I tried it out in late 2020. It was a really good movie. Don't remember it too well, but I do remember it being a really good and funny movie. Jack in the Box being played by Ian Kelly. I don't have an opinion on the casting choice. And now, as for the Crazy Monkey, you got the Crazy Monkey being voiced by Dr. Eggman. And honestly, I think that's easily the worst Sonic casting choice in this Toon Story series. I think that's kind of bad. I don't think Eggman's a very good choice for the monkey. Maybe I can understand what he was going for with this, but come on. I think it would be better if he had, I don't know, maybe someone crazier be the evil monkey, or better yet, like an actual monkey be the evil monkey, or even have the evil monkey be itself if it would be lazy. But there is a cool, unique idea he did with Dr. Eggman, and I'll go over that later in this review. Next up is Yellow Bunny, Fang the Sniper from Sonic. That's a better Sonic casting choice. Same with Roots the Back being the toy penguin. Much better Sonic casting choice. And yeah, more Sonic casting choices as like SPO, Charmy, and Vector is the 3 other toys. And there's also all of it. The rest of it's just original casting choices on it. He could have went over a lot more original. He could have done a lot more casting choices from the Toy Story 3 characters. But there's some casting choice replacements he did. Like for example, I'll talk more about this casting choice later. He had a clown from Powerpuff Girls who was, fun fact, voiced by the cartoon legend Tom Kenny. It's pretty easy to tell, but yeah, he had that clown from the Powerpuff Girls be played as a replacement for the Big Baby in Toy Story 3, who later throws Lotso into the trash. And yeah, okay. Now, as for so what do I think about this cast of new characters? It's not bad. Barbie, like Trixie playing Barbie's easily the worst, easily the worst. But still, I think this is good, decent. You got definitely my favorite from this cast. Burt Ram as Lotso. That's a good Family Guy casting choice right there. But now let's go over the unique ideas. And oh my God, look at this! Look at this. This was necessary to write down. There's no way I could have memorized all this in my head, and like, there's no way I could have memorized all this in my head. Okay, now let's go over all the unique ideas. But yeah, I'm basically like story time with Jay right here. I'm gonna tell a story of all the unique ideas in Rabbit Lover's Toon Story 3. All right, 1. Unique ideas Rabbit Lover did in Toon Story 3. Starting now. Unique ideas. Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls gets kidnapped by snakes, and Blossom and Buttercup worry. The other girls they get stolen too. Rebecca takes a shower, gets locked in the building, and taken down by Fleagle. And Shadow sees it, who is later in the film to be revealed as Jonathan. Not that I wrote that down, but just so you know, he has a backstory later on, which I'll cover later, and which is actually one of my favorite parts of this Toon Story 3 project. The sequence being done with extras from Bluey. Oh yeah, then there's a sequence that's like the sequence at the beginning of Toy Story 3. And yeah, the sequence is being done with the extra casting choices from Bluey, which I love, and Equestria Girls, which I hate. My Little Pony Equestria Girls, which I hate. And it turns out the sequence was it a sequence that like Double D was doing in his room? No, it was just a sequence that Twilight made up with to the gang. She was just trying to tell a funny story. And then later, there's like Bob at Holly Hobby's house hanging out as Santa, Sideshow Bob from the last movie hanging out as Santa. And then he gets murdered. Which honestly, yeah, he was a pretty shitty person, but come on, I don't think he deserved that to be tortured like that much to death. Maybe he deserved to be arrested in the last film, but murdered, yeah, that's a bit much. But either way, he died, and I gotta say, it was a cool idea having Sideshow Bob come back. I don't think any of us was expecting to have the casting choice for Stinky Pete from the last film come back. Yeah, then there's Kyle and the gang. Then hang out at Double D's home with Johnny watching Krusty the Clown in the living room. The gang then have a last meeting, and Kyle, let's flip the page, thinks that they should stay at Dee's home, but Twilight thinks they should move out since, get this, Double D's family is dead, including Double D himself. So yeah, that's why we don't see Double D in this film at all. We don't see an older version of him at all, or like even like another casting choice for the older Andy, because they're dead. Next thing you know, you're on your back. Dead. Sorry, I just love quoting Shrek, but hold on. Double D's family is dead, but everyone else agrees with Twilight that they should move out of the house with a murdered family and go move to somewhere else, like a better place that'd be better for toys to stay at. And you know what? Even though I hate Twilight Sparkle, I gotta agree with her with the rest of the toys. I would definitely if I were them, I would definitely want to move to another like nicer place for new toys rather than just stay in that old home that's like full of murder and stuff. Yeah, not very good. Not very good. So yeah, everyone else agrees to Twilight, like I said. But Kyle doesn't want to go in agreement. He disagrees with his gang, and then the next part, Kyle leaves and speaks with Soil, and they talk about Kyle's backstory about when he was a baby and about how he and Soil were adopted by Double D when Kyle was a baby. We then get back to Kyle's friends with more added dialogue, and then we get a scene of Wormy killing Soil, and even after that, Kyle still doesn't want to move out. How? But of course, no, I understand how. It's because he just wants to stay in the house of an owner he loves so much. All right. But of course, his friends still disagree. So with Kyle being outnumbered by a lot, the Toons go to Toon Paradise, and as they are getting the grand tour, a clown named Jim gets introduced as a replacement for the big baby and annoys Kyle by saying to him, thinking it's his B-day. While Twilight's boyfriend discovers a murder in the building, Kyle and Twilight then get into yet another fight about whether they should stay at Double D's or not. Kyle then leaves, but as he tries to escape, the building As he tries to escape the building, he gets taken by two of the snakes. There's then more murder occurring at Toon Paradise. That's it for paper one. As more drama occurs, Kyle gets to meet and talk with the Powerpuff Girls, and then the snakes talk to Kyle and the girls about how they can't leave for the rest of their lives as their punishment for escaping. Back to Kyle's friends, they talk about Kyle's attitude and then go to sleep. Meanwhile, Bluey has to use the bathroom, so Bandit rightfully takes Bluey to the bathroom, being the great father that he is, and the great character that he is too. Lost track of where I... Hold on. All right, back on track. After the break, Bandit and Bluey then discover the evil Toons hanging out in the vending machine and playing a left hook game, which is a game from Johnny Test, by the way. He added in that clip of Dookie like playing the left hook gang and the left hook game and getting beat up and stuff as he's playing the game, showing why he hates the left hook game. So Bandit and Bluey, they're playing the game upsets Dookie. Bandit and Bluey then are caught and deal with the clown. Meanwhile, Kyle then escapes using a key given by Bubbles, and Kyle is caught by the snakes as he escapes. Fortunately, Kyle escapes, but gets stabbed in the process, and the snakes then have a little fight about letting Kyle escape. Meanwhile, Bluey watches her dad struggle with the evil Toons, and Bandit then gets resetted, like what happened to Buzz in the original film. Then we cut back to the Equestria Girls, and next thing you know, there's more murder! Bertrand then comes out to update the Toons about the rules. And then Twilight gets into a short fight with the Skycorp thing. Bandit then comes out to show that he is on the evil Toon side by teaming up with the snakes against his friends. And there's more dialogue with Twilight and the snakes. Back to Kyle, he talks to Shadow, and during the talk, Shadow shares his story, which might be my favorite part of his Toon Story 3 movie. Partly because there's no My Little Pony in this part where Shadow shares his backstory. Yay! Awesome! Lost track of where I was again. Hold on. Okay, anyway, Shadow shares his backstory, which I couldn't hear part of because the music was too dang loud. Seriously, for the part where Rabbit Lover was playing the music of Shadow sharing from the scene in Toy Story 3 where Chuckles shares his backstory about how he was with Lotso and Big Baby and whatnot. He played the music that plays in that scene in the original Toy Story 3 film, but he played it too loud, and I could barely understand what Shadow was saying at least up until he started showing flashbacks. So yeah, that was a bad thing. That was easily my least favorite thing about this part. There's also other parts of his Toon Story 3 where I couldn't understand what you were saying because the music was playing too darn loud. So yeah, a Rabbit Lover for future preference, in case if you do something like that for your future spoof films where you play added music during added dialogue, you do know there's a thing in the UCut app that allows you to balance the audio, control how loud your added audio is or how loud the audio is for the video you're using, just so you know, for future preference, I think you can try to control that, but I don't blame you for not knowing. You're still kind of new to the UCut app. You've gotten a lot better with using the UCut app. Seriously, I can't imagine you wanting to do your Toon Story 3 project like this if it was going to be in the same type of quality, the same type of non-UCut quality as your Dookie 1 Shrek 1 Movie Spoof project was. But yeah, back on the Shadow backstory. Anyway, in his story, Shadow reveals that he used to be a human and he was around when Bertram was little, and about how when he was a human, he had to deal with his wife and daughter being murdered by alligators on a big road accident. Shadow then tries to save his family, but he couldn't do so. And he then gets turned into acid and later gets transplanted in a hedgehog. So that's when his name changed from Jonathan to Shadow, and thus changed his name. He had the chance to be with Hunter, but he accidentally shot his Hunter in the face, so he couldn't be with him. Poor Shadow. Shadow then ran off to Rabbit Lover Village, where he met Rebecca, where she took care of him until she got murdered, which was shown later in the film. After talking to Kyle, he then sings a song. The next morning at Paradise, the snakes come back to talk to the Gatoons, and then there's Sunset Shimmer's song, which honestly I couldn't sit through. I know. I'm sorry, Rabbit Lover. I know you wanted me to watch every single part of this Toon Story 3 project without skipping through that. But sorry, I just can't. I just can't sit through that shit, man. You can't expect me too much to just sit through a fucking My Little Pony song. I'm sorry, I had to skip over that if I'm being honest. But yeah, anyway, I still know what I'm doing. The next scene, Kyle talks to Christopher Moore, who's playing the Tower telephone. And if there's any part of this Toon Story 3 project that the Return of the Foster should watch, it should definitely be this part, since it's a big interaction, big conversation between two South Park characters, two characters from his favorite TV show of all time. So if you were to watch anything from the series Fossa, it would definitely be this scene, if you ask me. Oh, and that's it for paper number 2. All right. Okay, so these two South Park characters have a talk about how to escape paradise. As more clips are added, after more added dialogue, Kyle then reunites with his friends. After a reunited talk with added lines, they do their escape plan, which partly involves Benson using a real gumball machine as a decoy as he tries to escape, which of course fails. But he manages to find a way out of that, which I'll cover later in this review. Eggman also dies during the plan. Yeah, instead of the evil monkey being tied up, he gets killed. Which I guess that makes more sense, and it's pretty fitting for this film since it's a freaking horror film. Okay. Oh crap! I keep losing track of where I am. I should probably stop getting my eyes off the paper. Where am I at? Okay. Twilight and Blue then help each other out during a fight Twilight has with Legal, with her boyfriend watching. With her boyfriend seeing it. Meanwhile, Benson comes back and reveals that he managed to escape with a gumball machine with the face written on it that he used as a decoy. Meanwhile, the yellow snake comes to Dookie's dream house to confront Dookie and try to kill the girls. Because Dookie, in the meantime, while the toys were being locked up, like what Ken did to Barbie in the Toy Story 3 movie, he, Trixie was like big into Dookie, and Trixie and Dookie go to Dookie's dream house to try new clothes and stuff, like what Ken and Barbie were doing in the film. Oh, God, I keep losing track. Ah! All right, back to that confrontation scene. Okay, the yellow snake tries to kill worms, but instead Dookie kills the yellow snake. After two of the Crusher girls lock Bandit in a box, there's more reuniting, and Bandit then escapes during an added Bluey's clip, which is probably another one of my favorite parts of this Toon Story 3 project, by the way, since I'm now a big Bluey fan. Only to be accidentally set to Spanish mode, like what happened to Buzz in the original film, which was an accident accidentally caused by Pinkie Pie, who pushed the button for too long, like Rick said in the original film. Burt Ram then comes back to the gang with Christian dying. With Christoph dying, and attempts to do more killing, when fortunately Shadow comes in, saving the game with his chaos control. I love doing my Shadow impressions. Yeah, great move, Shadow, great move. The Shadow scenes have definitely got to be some of my favorite, if not my absolute favorite scenes in this Toon Story 3 project. Because, I love me from Shadow. He's easily my favorite Sonic character. But yeah, he tries to help out, again, with the good tunes, but Burt Ram gets back up to kill Shadow. Yeah, he's thought to be dead, but I'll talk more about that later on. Kyle and Burt Ram then talk about Maria and the power-up of girls, who are imposters, who came with them, even turn against him. Dookie then comes in to save the day, but Burt Ram then hits Dookie. But despite Dookie's pain, he was in pretty bad pain, like his tail was bleeding and stuff. He still kills Burt Ram, who's again thought to be dead, but I'll talk more about that later on, only to die later. Yeah, so rest in peace, Dookie. After more added dialogue from the gang, the purple snake then comes back in an attempt to kill Kyle, causing Twilight to stand up for him and make a sacrifice that results in death. Yeah, so that's pretty sad for Equestria Ghost fans right there. and maybe it made me feel a bit emotional watching that, to be honest. Even though I hate My Little Pony, that made me feel a bit emotional watching that, to be honest, but whatever. I would definitely rather have Twilight die than like any non-My Little Pony character in this group. So yeah, okay, continuing on. Yeah, and Sunset Shimmer later discovers the death and laments over it after Bandit is fixed. After Bandit is fixed from an accident, and looking at how dark this movie is, I feel like Bandit could have died from that big TV falling on him instead of being reset back to normal mode, like what happened to Buzz in the original film. But still, I would rather have him be reset back to normal because I love Bandit. Bandit is my favorite Bluey character. Okay, so the snakes then come back for more, only for almost all of them to die from rarity. The orange snake still stands, who then goes to Hugh Tess's home to kill him, which leads to Leela getting pissed off and killing the snake, which I thought was kind of a funny scene. Yeah, she kills the snake for revenge. Yeah, I thought that was kind of a funny scene. Now all the snakes are dead, or are they? Or are they dead? Okay, meanwhile, the gang deals with more villains, but Benson kills the two remaining villains with a big mouth blast, like when he did the Mordecai and Rigby in that one episode of Regular Show. He like powers up, then fires a big mouth blast, that big mouth blast, like the one that Nappa being struggled with Goku's Kamehameha in Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, he did that big mouth blast, which results to another sacrifice of Benson dying, which I find way more sad than Twilight's death. Yeah, because Regular Show will always be a million times better than my little piece of shit. Okay. Okay. It also results in the camera shifting over to the other game's reactions and yet more added lines. And along with the peaceful scene while Benson is dead from the sacrifice. Then suddenly Johnny goes crazy. Oh yeah, that's it for page. Okay, now here's page 4, which part of it got ripped. Yeah, Johnny goes crazy. Johnny goes crazy and dies and whatnot. So yeah, there goes another one of our heroes dead. And more to the story. Okay, let's try to piece together this little piece of the paper I accidentally ripped off. And just when I thought Burt Ram was dead, he comes back to kill Johnny. Yeah, Burt Ram killed him. And then he attempts to kill more of the gang, and Kyle then fights against him about that, which scared Burt Ram. Yeah, we're supposed to believe that maybe Burt Ram has finally come to the good side right here. So yeah, he's all scared by Kyle and he gets Kyle to be nicer to Burt Ram and think that he deserves a chance. But no, Kyle was wrong and probably pretty stupid to do that. So yeah, like Burt Ram was begging Kyle not to hurt him, which was a mistake on Kyle's part because Burt Ram hurts Kyle's gang with more arrows. Burt Ram then suffers with his demise and actually dies from more arrows. Yeah. And as if this film's kill count wasn't high enough, more of our heroes die. Later, Kyle meets the Sky Corp thing, and then the Powerpuff Girls imposters come in. And OMG, oh my god, is there a lot more along with the whole village being destroyed. Kyle laments over the tragedy when later more evil bugs come back to attack Kyle. When suddenly Shadow comes back again. Yeah, we thought he was dead, but no. Thankfully, he's still alive, but he's not going to be alive for much longer. He comes back with more chaos control. Okay, that impression wasn't as good as it was the first time. Okay, but yeah, he comes back with chaos control to save Kyle and fix what he messed up because he made some pretty bad mistakes and he feels bad about it. Shadow then finally dies with a destroyed rabbit lover village. Oh my god, how high is this? Seriously, how high is this movie's kill count? Maybe a good drinking game would be to take a shot every time someone gets murdered. It's insane. Shadow dies, and there's a destroyed rabbit lover village, leaving Kyle alone and unhappy for 3 months. Then 3 months later, Fiona finally reunites with Kyle, revealing she was never dead, and she was staying at Hobby Lobby's house with Larry. She also got new wings in the meantime. Kyle and Fiona have an emotional talk, which I thought it was pretty cool to have the casting choice of Bo Peep come back for Toon Story 3. Granted, I wasn't that surprised to see it because obviously I saw Fiona make a sudden surprise appearance in Toon Story 2 during the final battle, but still, it was a nice thing to see here because Bo's not in the original Toy Story 3 movie at all, and they barely even talk about her here in the film. After in the staff meeting when Woody and Rex talk about Bo for a little bit, they just kind of pass it by like it's no big deal, and then we don't really hear anything about Bo again up until Toy Story 4, which thankfully this series does not cover Toy Story 4, and yeah, that's good. 3 movies is enough. Okay, but yeah, like I said, 3 months later, Fiona reunites with Kyle, revealing that she was never dead and all that stuff. And Kyle and Fiona have an emotional talk, and then the real Powerpuff Girls show up with other tunes to sing a song, which I think is much more tolerable than Sunset Shimmer sing a stupid song from earlier. Yeah, during this reunion, which Fiona appreciates, we then are shown Hobby Lobby's birthday, where there's newborn presents were opened, and Kyle has a nice meeting with Mary from Johnny Test. And despite all the murder and drama in the film, Kyle was able to live a nice, happy life with his new friends. The end. Okay, I've read what I had to read. I don't need these papers anymore. I'll be honest, that was pretty tiring writing all that stuff last night. I stayed up for like over 2 or 3 hours last night, doing research, doing my Toon Story 3 homework, like I said, in a couple community posts. And yeah, it was pretty tiring. I was writing down like all the unique ideas I had to cover, and oh my gosh, yeah, so many unique ideas to go over. It was pretty tiring. I stopped at like maybe around like 1:30 in the morning last night, and I was on what was that? What part was I on? Like part 16. Yeah, part 16. And I was like, I could have, I probably could have finished it off last night, finished off the rest of that unique idea script last night before going to bed before 2 a.m. But, I was feeling pretty tired. And yeah, I thought, it's like, what, I'm just going to call it a night. So yeah, I went to sleep and then I woke up the next morning and I finished my job with that unique idea script, in this room, partly with like having Dragon Ball Z on from the Xbox in the background. And yeah, finished that unique idea script. And now I just read that whole, pretty much the whole unique idea script. And yeah, now all those papers are pretty much crumbled up. They're not torn up yet. They're not that torn up yet, but they're crumbled up. But does that mean the review's over? No. Okay. So what else is there to talk about with the spoof film? There's still definitely more to talk about. Just because the unique idea script is over, that does not mean I'm done talking about this film. What else is there to talk about? Well, I remember before, like on live streams and stuff, before Rabbit Lover even started this Toon Story series of his, he was talking about how you might want to cry over this Toon Story 3, and then like fans of shows like South Park, My Little Pony, Bluey, regular show, all that are probably gonna have to cry for Toon Story 3 because of all the murder and stuff going on. And I'll admit, as I was watching this spoof film, I was getting pretty darn emotional, seeing like some of my favorite casting choices die off, seeing like, oh my god, all these awesome characters like Benson and Shadow die off. It was sad to see, and it was already kind of sad, like discovering that Double D is dead along with his family, and yeah, it's like, oh my god, pretty sad. I was getting pretty sad, but did it make me cry? This film made me cry? No, it didn't come anywhere remotely close to making me cry. Now, unlike in Toy Story 3, which nowadays I can't really watch that film without crying. I swear. Like, ever since I rewatched that movie during my little sister Josie's 16th birthday in 2022. Oh my god, it's been official. I can't watch the ending of that third movie without crying. I mean, sure, a lot of people getting murdered should technically be sadder than, oh, Andy having to grow up, give up his toys to Bonnie and stuff and such, and yeah, have move on from his for having to move on from his childhood. But still, that ending is so sad. It perfectly captures like how sad growing up can be. I swear, I think I've actually sobbed at that ending. Like, not just cry, not just drop a few tears, but like sobbed at the ending a couple of times. Freeform did Toy Story marathons on TV last year. Such a sad ending. Maybe if this ending was like, the real ending where, a bunch of the characters get murdered and stuff, then yeah, maybe this would make me cry a lot more. But so, yeah, this ending is still pretty sad though. This ending to this trilogy is still pretty sad with, the gang dying, all this murder going on, great characters dying off, with the emotional music and stuff. And yeah, see, I like that. I liked how this movie was sad, but in a very different way from the original Toy Story 3 ending, where this movie is like a lot more about moving on from, how to move on from your loved ones being murdered rather than, moving on from toys you grew up with, stuff that you have to grow up with and move on from when you were a little kid, and you'll move on to your college life and all that stuff. Yeah, I like how this movie was sad in a different way. And I also like all the casting choices, replacements. Like, when going in this Toon Story 3 movie, you'd expect to like maybe see a casting choices for like Bonnie, characters like Bonnie, and like the older Andy and the older version of Molly, and Bonnie's new toys and all that, and the casting choice for Big Baby. But no, 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 Rabbit Lover still covered a good chunk of the new casting choices in Toy Story 3, but he did replace them with like all these extra casting choices, like with Bluey and Bingo and all these Equestria girls, and Shadow, and that Rebecca girl from that live action movie I don't know the name of, and Fleagle and all that. Yeah, I like that. That was cool. That was cool. I liked all the twists. I like how different this movie was from the original Toy Story 3 movie. It's cool as a horror film. This is not a film, even though this spoof film is for a kids movie. I would not recommend parents to show this to their kids at all. Heck, I'm even gonna like, when I upload this review, I'm going to do the same thing to this review that I did to the last Toon Story review, and labeled this review as not for kids. Because, yeah, this movie is not for kids at all. There's so much blood. There's so much gore in it. And, yeah, there's some pretty dark stuff. Yeah, even though this is based on a kids movie. But we gotta admit, though, the original Toy Story 3 movie was pretty dark, too, like with the incinerator scene and all that. But nowhere near as dark as this. This is like a whole new level of dark with all the murder and all that shit going on. Uh, and yeah, I like it, and I like how how he made this into a horror film. That's cool. That's a cool idea. Making a spoof film for a kids movie into a horror film movie. That's a cool, unique idea. I really like what he did with it. I swear, if Watch Mojo were to do a list of like the top 10 like most unique spoof films on YouTube of animated kids movies, this one should probably be the number one spot because oh my gosh, is this film different from the original film? Yeah, I remember when I was starting to watch this Toon Story 3 movie, it was like barely feeling like a spoof of Toy Story 3 at all. But yeah, how do I feel about this movie overall? Well, there's a bunch of unique ideas in it. I like how it's a lot darker and a lot more mature than the original Toy Story 3 film. I like some of the casting choices for the original for the new characters who are originally introduced in Toy Story 3, like the casting choice for Lotso and the casting choice for Ken. I don't really like all the My Little Pony stuff. Like, oh my god, he was shoving so many. Oh my god, the amount of usage of My Little Pony. I swear, this film would be a million times better if it wasn't for all the My Little Pony stuff. Still not as good as the original film. No, still not as good as the original film. But if it was for the My Little Pony stuff, and instead like replace the extra casting choices with their Equestria Girls characters with, let's say, casting choices from characters from another show, maybe not exactly another show I love, but like another show I can at least tolerate, then this would be a lot better. This would be a lot better. But no, because My Little Pony usually has to come in a rabbit lover spoof films and ruin all the fun. Because for some freaking reason, these spoofers love that show so freaking much. Oh my god, yeah, hate that damn show. And I know the Return of the Foster agrees with me with that on that. I swear, you would probably want me. I wouldn't be surprised, even though he thinks King of the Hill is just a C tier alright show. You would probably like want. I can imagine wanting a King of the Hill box set if it meant using it every day. It meant that he never ever had to see anything from that trashy little girl show ever again. He probably yeah, Foster probably wouldn't even mind using the King of the Hill box. Yeah, he would probably mind having the binge watch King of the Hill. Yeah, but I'm sure it wouldn't be something he would mind having on the background as he's working on videos. Like examples being his new total drama, the Foster series, and his upcoming Cameron Shrek movies, which he's thought about maybe doing. Yeah. Oh my God, why does Milo? What do you guys see in that show, man? But whatever. I don't feel like going on a big, massive rage and going a big, massive rant about My Little Pony because you guys get it. My Little Pony really killed a lot of this film for me. If it wasn't for the My Little Pony stuff, this film probably could have like easily been. It could have maybe be my favorite Toy Story 3 spoof film, And this could be a horror film that I'd want to like rewatch for the Halloween season this year. But no, maybe I'll still go back to rewatch some of it for the Halloween season this year, like especially with Shadow's backstory because that's my favorite part. I think that's my favorite part of his Toon Story 3 project, the part that's all about Shadow's backstory and all that. Even though, again, I couldn't hear part of what he was saying because the music was too dang loud. But still, I really like that part. There's not an inch of My Little Pony showing that. It's all about Shao's backstory, about how he was originally a human, how he was turned into a hedgehog. All about backstory with my favorite Sonic character, Shadow. So yeah, that was a really cool part. Yeah, there's nothing really that much about that part that really pissed me off, except for maybe that audio balancing issue. But still, like overall, I think this film is like pretty. It's not great. It's not great. Is it better than either of the previous two Toy Story movies? I don't know. Maybe it's just about the same, but like a bit better, if not a bit worse. It's still at a close level to the previous two Toon Story movies. It's still not great. It's not a masterpiece. There's better there's better Toy Story series out there. There's like
The Return of the Fossas.
Toy Story, the Fossil movies they did last year. There's Mario Sonic Philly Fans' Toon Story trilogy, and I would also say that your animated 18's currently ongoing cartoon character story trilogy is better than this Toon Story trilogy. Because yeah, even though that project has My Little Pony in it too, it doesn't have as nearly as much of it as it is right here, especially not in Cartoon Character Story 2, because I haven't noticed any My Little Pony being used in Toy Story 2, which is why Cartoon Character Story 2 is my favorite Toy Story movie from your animated 18. Okay, but anyway, yeah, that's about it. On a scale of 1 to 10, I think I'm gonna give this film the same rating I gave the other two Toy Story movies from the series, a 6 out of 10, and like a B minus tier or C plus tier. Again, it's serviceable. There's a lot of ideas I like, but still, there's a lot of ideas I like, but still, all the Milo Point has to come in and fucking ruin all the enjoyment from me. Ugh! Sorry, if it wasn't for the Milo Pony stuff, this film could like be an A tier, maybe an S tier, like an 8 or 9 out of 10. But no, it has to be lowered down to a B or C tier and like a 6 or 7 out of 10. I'm sorry, Rabbit Lover. I'm sorry, but you overkilled it too much with the Milo Pony, buddy. I'm sure you'll understand. I can't give this. I can't give this movie a very high score. I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. Sorry, it's still cool. I like how you made it into a horror film. I like all the unique ideas you did, and it was fun doing the research for this review. But yeah, I wouldn't consider this Toy Story 3 movie a classic. Again, I think there's better Toy Story spoof films out there. But still, overall, this Toon Story trilogy was good. It was definitely better than his Toon Story trilogy from 2022. Again, not way better. I wouldn't say way better, but a bit better. A bit better, with all the cool, unique ideas and all these cool casting choices I like and all that stuff. It's still like serviceable. It's decent. It gets a solid 6 out of 10. But that's just my opinion. You guys can let me know in the comment section down below, like if you're interested in watching any movie from Rabbit Lovers' new Toon Story series, or what you think of this video and all that. So yeah, sorry Rabbit Lover, but I couldn't really stretch the video out to be an hour long. I tried covering like pretty much everything I could, and yeah, it's only resulted to being an over 35-minute video. But hopefully you won't mind it. As long as I covered enough stuff that you want me to cover with casting choices and unique ideas, I think we're all good. But yeah, it was pretty tiring doing the research for this review, but it was all worth it. I think I did a good job. So yeah, probably my next Toy Story review would probably be probably my next Toy Story spoof film review. I think it would probably be from Joseph Creates Content JCC Studios' Toon Story 3 project, which I haven't seen a new part get out in a while, but I know he wants me to review his Toon Story 3 project when that's done. But I think right now he's currently more focusing on his other Toon Story series where he has himself as Woody and he has me as the utility but Buzz Lightyear. But I know he plans on finishing up Toon Story 3 in the meantime, and he wants me to review it, which I'm looking forward to doing. I'm sure doing the research for that review won't be as tiring as doing the research for this review. Oh my god. Look at all these papers. Look at all these papers. I'm going to throw them out as soon as I'm done with this review, I swear. But anyway, yeah, that's all for this review, you guys. 6 out of 10. A good spoof film with like a lot of cool ideas in it, just ruined with way too damn much of My Little Pony. But still, this series overall is serviceable. There's some cool parts of it that I'll go back and rewatch, like that backstory with Shadow and Kyle and Bandit being lost at the gas station, and Kyle and Bandit's big adventure in the video game sequence at the beginning of Toon Story 2. Cool scenes like that. But I'm not gonna rewatch these whole spoof films over and over again. No, I'm not gonna do that. But there will be certain parts of these spoof films I'll go back and rewatch. So yeah, with all this being said, that's it for this big Toon Story 3 review, you guys. Or as I also like to refer to it as the horror story review, because yeah, So that's about it for the review, guys. Bye everyone, and thank you all for watching this video. Have a good Sunday.